Ladies and gentlemen, thrashers around the world, welcome to one of the biggest videos of the year, along with the top 20 WWE pay-per-view matches of the year list. This is another traditional list that I did in 2014. Didn't do it last year, but it's back again this year. Except it's expanded, so we got a lot of ground to cover here in these next 5 videos coming out within about 2.5 hours of each other. And also, I'm recording this the night before they're uploaded, so that's why I'm still in the same shirt, because I was pre recording this. So, anyways, I have the top 50 album of the year list, and actually, I have, well, 3 honorable mentions that I could think of. So, let's talk about them real quick. We have Baby Metal with Metal Resistance, Abbot's self titled debut, and Witchery with In His Infernal Majesty's Service. All these albums were really, really good. I highly recommend them, but they just weren't good enough to make the list. With Baby Metal, yes, come at me, haters. It was a really good album for the young girls from Japan. The Abbott album, it was a really solid debut that showcases what I think Abbott can do with this solo project. And then Witchery, with that blackened thrash metal idea, really was really good, but then again, you had a couple tracks that kind of sounded too repetitive, like I stated in the review, but these are all honorable mentions. It's time for part 1, number 50 up to number 41. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with this. With number 50, we have Revocation with Great Is Our Sin. Tech Death slash Thrash from Metal Blade Records. Revocation, I reviewed their last album, Deathless, which came out in 2014, and it was really excellent. This one kind of felt like it was a step down from that album, but it was still really good, including a hell of a Slayer cover at the end with the song Altars of Sacrifice. Number 49, we have Carnifex with Slow Death. My first encounter with Carnifex was really, really good. This was a solid deathcore album with that kind of blackened aesthetic behind it and some of that more traditional death metal structures. But hell of a ride for me to get into with Carnifex. Number 48, we have Brain Drill with Boundless Obscenity. Talk about an apocalyptic onslaught of an album. This was definitely a tech death with some grind involved. Absolutely incredible album from a young band that's really been trying to make a name for themselves in the technical death metal subgenre. Number 46, we have Korn with The Serenity of Suffering, the first Korn album I've listened to since See You on the Other Side in 2005. This is a hell of a return to form for the band. While a couple tracks still seemed a bit lackluster, a majority of this album was really excellent. It kind of harkens you back to that 1990s era of Korn that most people got into this band for. So I highly recommend it for the old school fans like myself. Number 45, we have Nails with You Will Never Be One of Us. Power violent, grindcore, sludge, hardcore. You name it, it's on this album. The shortest album on this list at 21 minutes. It was fast and furious until the last track, where it was 8.5 minutes. That was more of a grindy sludge metal track. But Nails, despite going on hiatus now, they showed with this album they have a lot to offer to underground music fans. Number 44, we have another grindy album with Rotten Sound's Abused to Suffer. Finland's Rotten Sound, who's been around since the middle of the 1990s, just continued to put out brutal grind albums that sound raw, and you can tell they listen to a lot of Napalm Death. Just saying. Number 43, we have Dream Theater with The Astonishing, the double disc concept album that some people felt it was a disappointment, and I kind of agree, but it don't deny the fact this is still a really damn good double album, even though it wasn't ranked as highly as some people would have hoped. Hey, it's on the list, so don't complain. Number 42, we have Megadeth with Dystopia. Megadeth returns to that thrash sound that they hadn't done since the 13 album. While it still feels like they're kind of still lost in the arc a little bit, they are making a good effort to get back on top of the thrash world. because this was really good. Despite that song, The Emperor still hasn't changed much for me. It's still one of those songs that you kind of want to avoid, but the majority of the album you gotta listen to. Number 41, we have Hatebreed with the Concrete Confessional. Metalcore at its finest right here. Well, one of them at least. This album was an excellent return for Hatebreed. Even though I really liked Divinity of Purpose, I can see what people were talking about, them saying it kind of sounded like the same old sound. Here, they shorten up the songs, kind of slow things down a little bit, and kind of take a lot of nods from Slayer. And it was a really, really excellent album for one of my favorites of the metalcore genre. And with that comes the end of part 1. Stick around, part 2 is coming up next.